Talktainment Radio Worldwide Sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go, the world's greatest radio. You are in touch with the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is radio the way it should be heard. We have an interesting conversation from our Gmail today. We're going to be speaking and have Mr. Fuller address in the compensatory fashion the extinction of white people. That came from one of our Gmails, and I'll read the Gmail to you. To get in contact with the show in today's conversation, you can call 1-877-932-9766. You can also do this. You can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at gmail.com. You can also go to the YouTube channel, type in the word Talktainment, and then you will type in the word radio, and then scroll down to the area where you can type in Talktainment number 2. And then you're live right there on YouTube. And while you're there, hit the subscribe button and the like button. The easiest way you can do is to go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage and click on program, or listen live, and you're right there. Hey, while you're there, I'll make that in a moment. And the last way, you can go to Facebook.com/Talktainment, and you're right there. Hey, listen, we are about halfway at our goal. Our goal is $4,000, and we're at $2,000 for the donation. So pick up the pace, please, and donate to the second hour of the compensatory concept. We're just about at $2,000, and we need $4,000 to make this thing work. So please, ma'am, please, sir, if you will, donate for the second hour of the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Okay, I think that's all the house cleaning out of the way. Let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., who is live on the line from Washington, D.C. And as our custom is, Mr. Fuller, good morning, and how are you? Ooh, I can't. Hello, Mr. Fuller? Okay. While we get that straightened out here, let's see here. Okay. Let's see here. We'll do this. Okay, you're getting ready to bring him in. Okay, that's good. Okay, let me know. Can we do it now? Okay. All right, Mr. Fuller?
Oh!
Okay, there you go. Okay, you're loud and clear now. A little difficulty. We got that together. Okay, let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and as our custom is, Mr. Fuller, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
You are still learning. Okay. We are going to be talking about the extinction of white people today, coming from our Gmails. As a matter of fact, the person who wrote it, David, said the population declined the eighth area, maybe. Okay, anyway, let's go from there. Gmail today. He says, first of all, he wanted to thank you, Mr. Fuller, but he said, recently, Mr. Fuller, in the media, there are a lot of articles about white people having problems with population decline. Some say the new abortion laws are designed to increase their population. The code says, under the system of white supremacy, excuse me, under the system of white supremacy, the system is a global system. You have stated many times that the world is like a prison, and the white supremacists are the wardens and the prison guard. My question, Mr. Fuller, is this. If white people go extinct, back to the population decline, would the system go away? Meaning, there is no more prison guards and wardens, so the system cannot run without the prison managers. I'm trying to get clarity because the population decline is confusing. Could you address that, please?
Well, first of all, we don't know whether the population is declining or not, because we don't know that people are telling the truth. In a war, as some people have said, what's the first thing that dies?
The truth, isn't it?
The truth. So we are being told that there's a population decline. We don't know. By we, I mean the victims of racism, the prisoners of war. We just know what we are being told. And it could be a huge population decline of non-white people through all kinds of things. That could be. Then on the other hand, there could be, actually, a population decline among white people. And of course, that would be of serious concern to the white supremacists. But since they're in charge anyway of the entire planet, they would just make that adjustment. They would see to it, comparatively speaking, that the population of non-white people was stabilized in a way that they can handle it the way they want to, which they have always done, and that the population of white people would stay the same or increase or decrease as long as one criteria is met, and that is you have the system of white supremacy in place. That's the only thing they're concerned about. The figures may change, the statistics may change, the locations of white people as compared to the locations of non-white people may change, but when the white supremacist wakes up every morning and goes to bed every night, all they want to know is one thing, just one. Does white supremacy still exist, and is it the dominant government of the people of the planet called Earth? And if the answer is yes, they are totally satisfied. Doesn't make any difference how they do it, as long as that is the way it stays.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, David is asking, and he's asking for your opinion according to the code. He said, if the white people go extinct, meaning back to the population decline, would the system of white supremacy go away? Meaning there are no more prison guards and wardens. So if there are no more prison guards and wardens, the system cannot run without prison managers.
Absolutely. Which means that the white supremacists no longer be in business because they wouldn't exist. But, so the question is, would their system still exist? And the system couldn't exist without them.
Mm-hmm.
But what you would have, and people have asked me right now, if the white people of the planet suddenly disappeared, what would you have among non-white people? You would have chaos like you wouldn't believe.
Mm-hmm.
Because the system of white supremacy is the criteria for everybody's behavior. And when that goes away, you're going to have the residue from what was already in place. Because the non-white people don't know what to do. We're proving that over and over again because we've been prisoners of war. We don't know how to run anything. Prisoners of war just know how to run scams on each other in a prison because that's all they're allowed to do. So we'll still be trying to just run up and down the street, trying to do things to each other, trying to get over on each other and figure out ways to do it better because that's all we know. We don't know anything about harmony. We don't know anything about cooperating. We don't know anything about empathy, even though we pretend we do. But prisoners, like all prisoners, just feed off of each other. So it'll just be a total shambles. Now, so according to logic, knowing this, what do? You practice what you would be doing in those circumstances as best you can when white supremacy no longer exists. You keep that in mind as you get up every day and go to bed at night. All in between, every waking moment, you're supposed to be doing what? Concentrating on knowing the difference, first of all, between what is constructive and what is not, and always try to practice doing the most constructive thing, and don't make contact with people. We've got to start practicing that now, for whatever the future might mean, because it's not going to be a future worth having anyway unless we get on a completely constructive agenda. That is what every black person, every non-white person on the planet should be doing. A planet of justice. We want to evolve into what we might call universal man and universal woman, and which means most of the ways we have of going about doing everything has to be very closely examined, starting with our contacts with each other. They have to be totally constructive. We have to start practicing that as best we possibly can in the prison yard called the system of white supremacy. When you pick up a telephone or make contact either directly or indirectly by any means, you say, is this that I'm fixing to say, this contact that I'm going to make with anybody, white or non-white, is it going to produce a constructive result? Or is it going to be what it usually is when it comes to non-white people, something that is tacky, trashy, or terroristic? Because these are the things that govern the conduct of the people on this planet 24 hours a day here in 2019 in every area of activity. Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. It's all comes under capital letters, the 3 T's. Tacky doesn't get any better than tacky. Trashy or terroristic, one of those is how the people of this planet, that's how we conduct ourselves every day. We are nowhere near having the quality relationships in capital letters, the quality relationship that people are supposed to have on the wonderful planet that we have been given.
Okay.
You don't have a single quality relationship. It's all tacky, trashy, or terroristic. One of those 3 T's.
Being or given that the situation concerning extinction, if it in fact exists, or if it's not a ploy of deception by the racist white supremacists to distract us, since they employ all sides, if it is this extinction, and we're supposed to be practicing justice, and let's just say, because I don't know, but if it is gone, or if it is torn down, or if they do become extinct, and we were or are in the prison, but they're gone now, would we automatically begin to practice justice, even though we've been taught their trashy, terroristic ways?
No, we wouldn't. Look at us the way that we are right now. People have a tendency to keep doing the things they're used to doing. So look at black people right here in the northwestern hemisphere. If there were no white people on the planet, if we woke up tomorrow or sometime before noon today in the northwestern hemisphere, in most places, we look around and all of a sudden white people have disappeared. I mean, and all the buildings and grocery stores and everything is still here. The highways are still here. The rivers are still here. Everything is still here. There's still food on the shelves. There's still farm equipment sitting out there, but nobody's there. No white people are there. You find black people, brown people, yellow people, people who are classified as non-white. No white people. I'll say what I said before. Chaos like you wouldn't believe, because when you take the most powerful factor out from among any people, if the monitor, a stern monitor, a cruel monitor, or a kind one, walks out of a classroom, you know, you have a classroom full of children, which is what we all are. The non-white people of the planet are children. We're not grown. We haven't had any experience in being what you call grown people. None. Zero. None of us. We've been prisoners of war before we were born. So when the monitors are gone, we look at each other and say, where's the teacher? The teacher walks out of the classroom. Where's our guide? Where are the people that knocks us over the head and makes us do what we have to do for them, and presumably in helping them to support us, and while we're supporting them according to their rules, which is tyranny, all right, the way that they go about doing it, the system of white supremacy. So the white supremacists, along, I'm not saying all white people are white supremacists, but if all white people go, then the white supremacists are gone. So that means non-white people are just left with what they know to do.
Mm-hmm.
And just look at what black people know to do when they are left alone among themselves. Anywhere on the planet, look at how we conduct ourselves.
Yes, sir.
Under the system of white supremacy, because we're really not left alone. We just think we are, even in the places where they say, well, this is an all-black country. There's no such thing as an all-black country. Nowhere on the planet. Everything is being run by the white supremacists, either directly or indirectly. And so if the white supremacists disappear, we will be on automatic doing the things we usually do, only it'll be more of it. So if we're used to robbing and stealing and killing each other, you're going to see that wholesale. And when those grocery store, when the shelves start becoming empty, because it'll be hallelujah time, for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because black people will just be riding around. They will go into just don't even think about the car dealerships. They would empty out in no time. And black people driving up and down the highway, wrecking cars like you wouldn't believe, and then jump out of one and jump into another one. Jump into a sports car and go tearing down the highway.
Total chaos, huh?
Total chaos. Road warrior. That's what it'll degenerate into. We know that. We might pretend that we don't know that, but we know that. We know how we are. We try to pretend that we're not that way. We're that way. We don't need to come off of it with all this black pride nonsense.
All righty.
There's nothing to be proud of.
Nothing.
Prisoners of war is what we have always been since the beginning of white supremacy. And prisoners of war who feed off of each other, who have just taught like in the movie Shawshank Redemption, just walk around in the prison yard trying to scheme against each other. That's all we know.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll continue to do that, wholesale. You'd better believe it. I don't know for how long, because at some point, maybe when we've practically decimated each other down to maybe 15 or 20 people left, somebody might come to their senses and say, hey, we can't keep going on like this. We got to learn to cooperate.
Yes, sir.
We got to get along with each other. There ain't nobody left.
Okay. Let me pause here for a second. TalkTameAtRadio.com is a 24/7, no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here's 3 that I'm going to share with you. Super Cool, Blue Mood Saturday, and The Jazz Show. Now, all these shows, or these 3 shows, are exclusive to the TalkTameAtRadio.com platform. And all you have to do is go to the TalkTameAt Radio homepage and look under programs, and then you'll have an opportunity to see the programs available for you that we offer here at TalkTameAtRadio.com. And while you're there, just sample them. And do this too. Hit that Go Donate button for the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. and yours truly, Mr. Bobby. That helps us to keep the second hour on. But anyway, these shows are all exclusive to TalkTameAtRadio.com, and you can get them. So go to the TalkTameAtRadio.com homepage, look for the scheduled programs and time. TalkTameAtRadio.com. That's radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And our lead topic question today is the extinction of white people. And if you heard the first 20-something minutes, Mr. Fuller gave his explanation or answer or suggestion to the question that David submitted. But we will also take your phone calls, 1-877-932-9766, and we will try to get your Gmail, 7MrBobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at gmail.com. Okay, here is a question about excuse me. I was going to say white-splaining, but we'll get to that in a moment. Mr. Fuller, I was asked to ask you, did you get a chance to see, as you said that you would try to do, When They See Us, the documentary or the series about the Central Park Five?
No, I haven't. I haven't gotten around to that.
Okay.
I've been very, very busy lately. And but I did mention it to someone, and they said they'd make it available for me.
Good.
When I could get around to looking at it.
All righty.
I'll try to do that as soon as possible.
Yeah, many people ask me, have you seen it yet? And I tell them I don't know, because as you well know, you and I, most of the time, we don't speak during the week. Our shows are completely unrehearsed, and that's the way we do it. But I was asked to ask you that. Okay, so somebody's going to do that for you. Good, then, because they have a lot of questions for you. Okay, question came up about white-splaining. Have you ever heard that term, Mr. Fuller?
About what now?
It's called white-splaining.
White-splaining?
White-splaining, all one word.
White-slinging?
No, splaining, like explaining, but white-splaining.
White-splaining?
Splain, like you're like using the word explanation or
yes.
Explaining.
I haven't heard that term.
Okay, well anyway, I was asked to ask you that. And what it is, according to the Urban Dictionary, the act of a Caucasian person explaining to audiences of color the true nature of racism. A Caucasian person explaining social, political events and or history to audience of color as though they are ignorant children. A Caucasian person explaining to the audience of color that what they think will benefit themselves and their families and communities will in fact harm them, and vice versa. This is what somebody had written about white-splaining. Let me get this Gmail here. Excuse me here. Okay, is it at the top here? Nope. Wait a minute. Just hang on here so I can get the Gmail. Okay, here it is. This person was writing in concerning that that he found that that white people use this tactic to explain and support other white races concerning how they feel. What do you think about that? Just hearing it offhand.
Well, it sounds like white supremacy. That's all. Just one of the elements in it, which is deception by the use of words.
Yes.
That's how the white supremacists use words when it comes to the non-white people of the planet. They just, when they talk, they are deceiving you because that's an excellent way to control people.
Yes.
Anybody that you can deceive and they don't know that they are being deceived, you can control. You can do anything you want to with them. Why? Because they are deceived. They think that you are doing something to help them when you're really doing something to hurt them, but they don't know that you are doing something to hurt them rather than help them. So deception is a huge weapon. The white supremacists absolutely rely on it in all 9 areas of activity. They have to be deceptive. They have to fool people when it comes to what? Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, war, deception. Fool them. Keep them fooled. Keep them confused. When you're fooling people, you're confusing them.
Yes.
And if it's 10 people in a room, and I've said this many times, and I'm going to repeat it again. If it's 10 people in a room, and 9 of those people are confused about everything that comes up, but you got one person who is not confused, the question is, logically speaking, who is the most powerful person in that room? The most powerful person is the person that knows what the truth is. And the other people are acting on falsehood. Why? Because the 10th person has fooled them. So anybody that you can fool, you can control.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the law of the universe. The white supremacists know this. So when they open their mouths and say anything, it doesn't make any difference how they say it. And they're saying it to a non-white person. If that white person is a white supremacist, they're being deceptive, one way or another. And an arch deceiver, what you might call a supreme deceiver, which is what they are, it means you can't detect the deception. That goes without saying about deception itself. If you can detect the deception, if you know that you are being deceived, you're not being deceived.
Correct.
But every victim of racism should have the position in his or her mind of, I've often used this as a cliche saying, here they come, what are they up to now? That should always be your position. I mean, I don't care how they approach you, what they're saying, how beautiful it sounds,
yes, sir,
how much money they bring, because right now they're bringing tons of it, particularly in certain areas of activity. The entertainment field, in the field of sex, all of this sexual distortion, sexual sabotage, sexual cosmetic sex and whatnot, Confederate sex that they are dumping on the non-white people all over the planet. They're coming with tons of money.
Yes. Did you say anything before we go to break? Did you say anybody that can be deceived can be controlled?
Oh, sure.
Okay. All right.
You deceive anybody. I mean, just try it. I mean, anybody can do it.
Okay.
People do it all the day. You have to.
All right.
You have to be deceptive in the system of white supremacy anyway.
All right.
For one thing, being a hypocrite is required.
Okay, let me get
in
this
the system of white supremacy.
Okay,
on part of everybody.
Okay, we have to break it here. TalkTameAtRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTameAtRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. Podcasts are available. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. We will have more on the extinction of white people on TalkTameAtRadio.com.
TalkTainmentRadio.com is proud to present the compensatory concept. It is an effective system for countering the effects of white supremacy. TalkTainmentRadio.com is able to carry the first hour. However, the cost for the second hour is exceeding our limited budget. That is why we ask for your kind assistance in keeping the second hour on the air. If you believe like we do, help us in this struggle for justice. Go to the gold donate button on the TalkTainmentRadio.com web page and hit the gold donate button. That's the gold donate button. And please donate. Help us to keep the second hour of the compensatory concept on the air. Thank you.
Are you ready for a high school that allows you to work at a place that is right for you? Are you ready to earn a certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving your high school diploma? Then you are ready for Life Skills High School, a free public school option for high school students 16 to 21 years old. Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 1-800-888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Kickin online.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Kickin products are better than those other guys. Ash Kickin candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK17. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling all right.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Shop Ash Kickin online at www.ashkickin.com.
Stand by for an important announcement for renters and investors. You have probably heard about this bad economy and high foreclosure rate. I'm here to bring you hope. Every foreclosed property is a blessing or a deal for a new buyer or investor. These properties are selling every day all over Central Ohio for several reasons. They are equity rich, worth tens of thousands of dollars above their price. There is down payment money available and remodeling funds if needed. Don't let the doom and gloom news keep you from your dream of home ownership. Call Linco Realty today at 865-9614. That's 865-9614. Call now. Always remember, these times, like all times, are good times if we but know what to do with them. They also have programs for investors who want to get off the couch and run with the big dogs. Call Linco today at 865-9614 or log on to repohomeslist.com.
This is Al Edmondson, owner of a Cutter Brother Rest Barbershop. I'm calling on all barbers and beauticians. It's time for us to unite as one. We can serve our communities better together. Join the Ohio Black Barber Beauty Network. For more information, visit www.obbn.org or call 614-427-3226 to get more information. Be the change that you want to see in your community. Join our network.
Looking for something special for your club or group? Take a trip. Cruise planners will help you plan the event of a lifetime. Explore exotic places from Africa to Asia, Bermuda to Las Vegas to Hawaii, with special offers that make it affordable and exciting. Click on to www.greatgetawaytrips.com for great deals, or call today at 614-707-SHIP. That's 614-707-7447.
Sex Code War by Kahari Inaharo, the author of the Essence Magazine bestseller Race Code War, is releasing his second book, Sex Code War. Be on the lookout for Sex Code War.
If you or someone you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and Medicaid is always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
Here's an idea. You've heard of the notion of pay it forward? It comes from the 2000 movie Pay It Forward. Basically, the premise is helping someone with no expectations of payback, providing assistance to someone, passing information on, simply doing a good deed for a total stranger, and instead of allowing them to pay it back, ask them to pay it forward. Doing favors for other people and asking them to do the same. The principle is the same as multi-level marketing, except that instead of soap or vitamins, it's generosity between strangers that is being passed on. Pay it forward is mentoring. It's volunteering in your community. It's shoveling a neighbor's snow or cutting an elderly person's grass for them or taking a senior to the store. Don't wait for someone else to do something good. Do it yourself. It starts with you. Talktainment Radio strongly embraces the notion of pay it forward. In fact, we just did.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You got the power.
Alrighty, talktainmentradio.com. We go where you go. Download the talktainmentradio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio, the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and we are talking about the extinction of white people, if that were possible, or if that's what's going on. You've been seeing a lot of mass murders going on committed by white people. Is this a ploy by the racist white supremacists to control the narrative of that story by looking like it could be an extinction of their people? I don't know if that is the case or not. We've had Mr. Fuller address that he has given his opinion in the first, or suggestion, in the first 25 minutes of the program. We also are taking your Gmails, and if you do Gmail me, trust me on this one, I will try to get those up immediately. So Gmail me if you have a question, and we can do that. We just did White-splaining, and Roop Dog did give a thanks for answering Mr. Fuller addressing his question. This comes from a person by the name of Mr. Fuller. Would you continue on that explanation, because you did make a comment that anybody that can be deceived can be controlled, and then we'll move on. That was a powerful statement.
Oh, yes. I mean, well, you see the effects of it. And when you buy something, if you're being deceived, you buy something, you think it's something that's going to give you good, excellent service and all like that, buy a can opener, and you take it, like I did recently, and it doesn't work.
Uh-oh.
It doesn't work on all cans. All right? It's a can opener, but it won't work for all cans.
Mm-hmm.
It'll work for some cans. Depends on who made the can, because the people who are in the canning business may not make a can that's designed to be opened by a standard can opener, whatever that means, if you can find out what is a standard can opener. So, you know, you have all kinds of ways of deceiving people.
Yes.
I think it was Mark Twain, if I'm quoting him correctly. And it's real important to quote people correctly.
Yes, sir.
I hope that I'm quoting him correctly. He said, there are three types of lies.
Uh-oh.
This is from Mark Twain.
Okay.
He said, plain lies, if I recall correctly. Plain lies, that's number one. Damned lies, that's number two. And statistics. So on that third one, it kind of applies to what we're talking about now. Say, what's the population of white people, of people classified as non-white, as compared to people who are classified as white anywhere on the planet? Well, that comes down to another question. who controls the what? Statistics.
Okay.
Anybody can push a button on the computer and say, hey, it's only, 35 white people left on the planet. All the rest of these people are non-white. And you walk out on the street and you see, that couldn't be true. You're looking at something different, but you're being told something different from what you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's easy to do, particularly for what? A person who is the master of statistics anyway. And that would be who in the system of white supremacy? It would be the white supremacists.
Okay.
So they say what the population is, even in where there are black people. They tell the black people in what's supposed to be black countries, you might say. The white supremacists say, oh, no, that's not your population. I double-checked your population. Your figures are all wrong. You don't have that many people there. Or that you have a whole lot more people than you actually have. All right? And so they act accordingly. Why? Because they are the prison masters of all of the non-white people on the planet. That's what white supremacy means.
Yes, sir.
All information, so-called,
Okay.
false or true,
Okay.
comes from them.
Comes from them.
Other than what we just imagine.
Mm-hmm. A friend of mine, he's deceased now, but he once said, it was very profound. He said, figures don't lie, but liars figure. I thought that was very good. Speaking of a number here concerning our donations, I was given some information this morning concerning the donation for the second hour of the Compensatory concept with Neely Fuller Jr. and yours truly as co-host. We are just at $2,000. We need $4,000. So we would like for you to donate the remaining balance, which would be $2,000, and send those donations in. And there's a donate button on the home page, a gold donate button. Hit that and send it in so we can complete our goal, I guess, for this year of $4,000. We're roughly at $2,000 right now. Okay, let's see here. Let's see, where am I supposed to go here? Oh, okay. Mr. Fuller, coming up here, this is the time I'm going to dedicate to your book. And a lot of people have been asking about it as far as overseas, especially Brother Sloan down in South Africa. I don't know what the situation is. Some of them are trying to use other means to get your book, but I think on one program you described how we can get the book by going to producejustice.com and then through Talktainment Radio. I believe that's what that was. But anyway, this is the time that we have set aside for you to speak on your book. So could you please do that, sir?
You can get the book by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. Produce, P-R-O-D-U-C-E, justice.com. And what will come up on the screen is a brief description of the basic textbook and the word guide. Now, the original textbook was up there, so I've been told. I haven't looked at it lately, and but it's been taken down temporarily for some reason or another. They're having, here again, what's being mentioned on this program, a logistics problem. And we're having this with the book, period. And definitely when you start talking about overseas shipments, none of the books, for the most part, are available overseas except in what is called the United Kingdom. Now, how extensive that is, I don't know. But the people in South Africa, they'll have to get in contact with somebody from here directly, or from somebody in the United Kingdom who can deliver them the book directly. I mean, people who are traveling back and forth. Just tell them to get the book and bring it back. Right now, that's the only way I know that they can get it. But it is being shipped in considerable numbers to places like London, so I've been told, and in Canada, so I've been told. But other than that, anywhere else in the world, it's difficult for anybody to get it. But otherwise, you go to producejustice.com, and you can get it in what they call the northwestern hemisphere, called the United States. You can get it there. And in the book are supposed to be suggestions about what is going on, just suggestions and observations about how this world is being run and by whom, meaning the white supremacists, from the author's perspective, which is myself. The white supremacists run everything, not all white people, but those white people who have chosen to participate in the system of white supremacy are running everybody's business who is non-white on the planet. Now, that's either true or false. But directly and indirectly, they're running every person who is classified as non-white on the planet. His or her business, his or her affairs, his or her ambitions, all being decided by people classified as white who believe in dominating and mistreating people who are classified as non-white in all areas of activity 24/7. And that they're supreme, they're already in business, they're not trying to get in business, they've been in business as far back as anybody can remember who is breathing now. Because everybody was born into the system of white supremacy because that's the only government on the planet. There are no other governments. All other so-called governments are fabrications. They're phony governments. They don't exist. There's no such thing as the American government in the system of white supremacy. There's no such thing as an Asian government, no matter how it looks on the surface, in the system of white supremacy. Those people who are called Asians, no matter how powerful they may seem, the white supremacists can push a button and mess up their entire economy overnight. Have everybody going at each other's throats. They can do that. The only reason it's not happening is they don't choose to do it because right now it's not profitable for them to do so.
Exactly.
And when it comes to people who call themselves Africans, you can just forget it. It's a total shambles. And the people who are called Asians are being persuaded by the white supremacists, in my opinion, now to say, hey, you can get a piece of this gangster operation, too. You know, you're not going to be considered equal members of the family, but you can get a piece of the African, thing, too, because we are running everything, including you, and that's why you have to go along with us, whatever we're doing. Now, we will allow you to do certain things among the Africans, to make it look like you're going to do something different from what we have been doing. But you ain't going to do nothing different from what we have been doing because we got the hammer on you, too. And don't you forget it.
Yes.
Now, that's the white supremacists, in my opinion, from everything that I'm hearing now, that's going on with people who are considered, quote, unquote, Asians, non-white people, people who they call the yellow people, and the people who are called brown and or black people, that the white supremacists are dictating how that's going to go. Because some people, many of them, in my opinion, who have the correct intentions, who really want to help the darker people, the people who are really what you call solidly black, to improve themselves. But the white supremacists will say, we'll let you go so far, but no further than what we will let you go, or you will hear from us. So now you can exploit them like we do, to the extent that we exploit them, if it meets our approval, the type of exploitation. But anyhow, the book deals with all this.
Yes, sir.
The white supremacists, how they operate, what it is, and how it works.
Yes, sir.
And you can get it by going to producejustice.com.
All righty. Let's do this. 4 things, and hopefully we can get them in this hour. If not, we will have to extend to the next hour. But you had quoted Mark Twain earlier. One of our loyal listeners, Roop Dog, had this to say going up. He said that a little lie can travel halfway around the world while truth is still lacing up her boots. Quoting what you had said about Mark Twain, he said, there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. Among other common lies, we have the silent lie, the deception which one conveys by simply keeping still and concealing the truth. Many obstinate truth mongers indulge in this dispensation, imagining that if they speak no lie, they lie not at all. It is my belief that nearly any invented quotation played with confidence stands a good chance to deceive. Figures don't lie, but liars figure. The history of our race and each individual experience is sown thick with evidence that a truth is not hard to kill and a lie told well is immortal. The statesman will invent cheap lies, putting the blame upon the nation that is being attacked, and every man will be glad of these conscious, soothing falsities. That came from our brother Roop Dog concerning that, but his main point was the quote that you made from Mark Twain. There are lies.
Oh, he was able to find that. Is that it?
Yes, sir. He was able to find it. Yes,
oh, sir. Okay. I recommend that people do that because sometimes I misquote people, which is dangerous to do that because I don't like to be misquoted at all.
Yes, sir.
All right. So nobody should ever be misquoted, whether they're white or non-white. I mean, you want to say exactly what the person said. Okay. So if anybody can find that quote that Mark Twain made, I read it maybe many decades ago. So I may not be quoting it exactly the way it was said. So I want that to be understood.
Yeah.
Well, he said, but he punchlined that particular statement by saying statistics is a way of lying.
Yes.
You can lie with statistics very easily.
All right. Thank you, Roop Dog. Let's see here. Mr. Fuller, we're going to revisit this point you made last week in the remaining 7 minutes. You said this, the illusion of getting better, mind-altering drugs controlled by the races. Someone had asked about that. They wanted a further explanation about that.
Oh, well, anything that is false, whether it's a chemical or whether it's in the political sphere or whether it's in the religious sphere, any type of falsehood throws everything off. If you have one lie that's told in one area of activity, a lie is so poisonous that it will permeate in all the other areas of activity. Like you can have a lie, in politics, which is just interaction between people, and that will affect what happens in religion, in sex, in economics, in entertainment, in anything. See, this is why the white supremacists make sure that they are experts when it comes to lying, when it comes to spreading false things.
Deceptions.
When it comes to fabrications of all types. They are well schooled in that, better than anyone, and they are masters of it. No one beats them at that type of thing. And they're the people who are called red people said they speak with forked tongue. They're really very skilled at it. Say one thing, do another. Say one thing, do another, over and over and over again. But when they're talking to you, man, they charm you to death. I mean, they spoon feed you that sugar and honey, and you just I mean, And if you're a black person and you're not aware of it and whatnot, you're just grinning from ear to ear.
Yeah.
I mean, and being deceived all the time, being drawn into that net like a spider spinning its web.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because in our discussion group, that phrase was mentioned, sugar honey, but it's called sugar honey iced tea. Some people know what that means, but I thought that was kind of funny that you would bring that up. Sugar honey iced tea. Okay, in the remaining 5 minutes, and we'll probably have to go into the next hour. This comes from, didn't say here. Oh, he said eye test. He said, my question to you, Mr. Fuller, is how has technology been used to harm black people in the system of racism, white supremacy?
Oh, everything that the white supremacists do in the system of white supremacy, and this is code, which is in the title of my book. This is the white code. Everything that the white supremacists do, no matter how it looks on the surface, is designed to make the system of white supremacy stronger. They don't do anything that's not designed to do that. Now, they'll make mistakes, like everybody does when they're doing anything, whether something constructive, something non-constructive. You make mistakes. That's the process. But the white supremacists correct their mistakes very quickly. They examine their mistakes. They go back to the drawing board. Every time they make a mistake, they don't let that pass by, because they want to be mistake-proof. In doing what? In running the business of dominating and mistreating people of color 24/7. So they always watch everything that they do and make sure that they have a smooth running machine if they can. Sometimes the machine gets kind of jammed, like machines do, particularly faulty machines, and white supremacy is a faulty machine. Yes, well, they'll look at it, they'll tinker with it, and say, hey, okay, well, put some more oil on it, okay, and see if that'll work. And if it works, then business as usual. But they never turn loose to that. Their intent is to always strengthen the system of white supremacy, no matter how it looks on the surface.
Okay. Then he said the second question here is, in your analysis, Mr. Fuller, how much worse black survival units get in their near futures, a lot of the same-sex family in the black community? Let me read that again. My second question, in your analysis, Mr. Fuller, how much worse will black survival units get in the near future, a lot of the same-sex family in the black community?
How much worth?
Yeah, well, I think he meant how much. He said much must worse, but I think he means much worse will black survival units get in the near future, because there's a lot of same-sex family in the black community. I don't know what he meant by it, but that's what he wrote.
Well, if I understand the question, here again, I'll just go back to what I said just previously. The white supremacists are behind everything that you see large numbers of non-white people doing, if it has a non-constructive effect. See, so it always just keep that in mind, because there's a lot of black people who are hugely confused about this. Millions of black people are saying, "Oh, the new sexuality, the new liberation of the new points of view on sexuality and whatnot. Oh, this is a wonderful thing. This is the gold mine of progress. I mean, this is what Marcus Garvey and Harriet Tubman were really fighting for, really, at a base level. I mean, sexual freedom. I mean, you got to have it. We can't be just restricted to this male-female thing. That's being all bottled up in jail.
Okay, I got to cut you off. I'll let you come back with that. TalkTomeRadio.com, the world's greatest radio the way it should be heard. Thanks for listening to the first hour. We'll come right back with the second hour and have Mr. Fuller finish.
Thanks for listening to the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why. One should always ask it.
Radio, the way it should be heard.
You got the power. The world's greatest radio. TalkTainmentRadio.com. Talktainment Radio, worldwide sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Okay, welcome to the second hour of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. here on TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go, the world's greatest radio. Again, you are in touch with the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Fuller. And I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is Radio the Way It Should Be Heard. Our topic today by one of our Gmailers has been the extinction of white people in the prison system of racism, white supremacy, and he had addressed this question along with other Gmails. So if you missed the first hour, you want to go back and get the replay on that and see what Mr. Fuller suggested or had to say about that. He was explaining or going into a question was asked about the same-sex households in the black community. Mr. Fuller, would you please continue that?
Yes, so the white supremacists, like I said about in the first hour, what do the white supremacists do? I mean, what's the key to their power, their strategy, whatnot? It's mostly deception. So, if you can deceive people or confuse people, deception is for what? To confuse people. Confuse people for what? So that you can better control them. Because people who are confused can always be controlled by people who are not confused. Mm-hmm. That's a universal law. So the white supremacists look at a very powerful force called sex, and they say, we got to confuse these people because they're getting smarter now in the field of education, in the field of economics and whatnot. They're slowly, I mean, not very fast, they're not doing it, but the darker people of the world are kind of waking up to figuring out a little about how to use time and energy in a way that works best, because they haven't been doing it like forever. I mean, and so that comes under economics. And they're getting better educated slowly, you know. They're expanding their minds, getting away from just narrow tribalism and just strutting around all day talking about how great I am in my tribe. They're breaking out of that and getting a universal view, some of them, a few of them, whatnot. So we have to contain them. So if you can't do it by brute force, which we can do it that way, but that's not the easiest way to do it. The easiest way is to confuse them. And so we look at the 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. And in those 9 areas, you pick out maybe, religion is pretty powerful, all right, but that's getting to be real chaotic. So when it comes to non-white people, we'll look at what's right next door to it in alphabetical order, sex. Okay? So, hey, if we can confuse them sexually, we can contain them and dominate them, I mean, at a very, much easier than we could through any other area of activity, with the possible equal level of religion. But if you can confuse the people that we want to dominate in religion, and you can confuse them in sex, or you can confuse them in both, oh man, that's a huge bonus right there that can last forever. I mean, and ever and ever and ever. All you have to do is just maintaining it, and just keep that pace up. Because sex is a very powerful thing, and religious beliefs are very powerful things. So you watch people and see which way they go. And if they're all into religion and whatnot, get control of their religions and slowly steer it the way you want it to go. See, that's the white supremacist strategy. And sex is something that everybody has, even people who don't have much of a religion. They have sexual drive. Most people have to have that in order to be people, in order to keep the populations coming,
right,
and all like that. So the white supremacists said, hey, we can't neglect that. This is a gold mine. So what we're going to do, we're going to confuse them sexually more than we're confusing them in any other area of activity. And we got to go all out for it. And we will spare no expense in doing so. And we will knock anybody down who else it looks like they're going to oppose it. Because we're going to say it makes more sense than anything that you have ever heard. This is wonderful for you black people. You black people need a new sexuality. That's what you need more than anything. Forget about the housing. Forget about the education. Forget about everything. I mean, as far as comparatively speaking, these other things count. But I'm saying your sexuality, you dark-skinned people's sexuality needs to be expanded. It needs to be liberated. You're in a little box there, a little primitive box, talking about male with female. What kind of limited prison talk is that? You want to be liberated, don't you? You want more freedom, sexually. You feel like busting loose. Okay, well, we got all kinds of things we can have you doing. And wonderful things you never even thought of. We can add to your repertoire of sexuality. All of you ignorant black people, all of you non-white people all over the world, join us. See, and like an arch deceiver will always do a whole lot of what they're trying to get you to do. Just like a male who is trying to seduce a female with alcohol, he will take a little sip and then he'll hand her the bottle. Say, see, I drank some too. All right? But he'll get her to drink more. Okay? Or use of drugs. That's an old seduction method. In the Northwestern Hemisphere, it used to be alcohol. Now it's other type of things. But a deceiver, the point that I'm making is, a real supreme deceiver will always do quite a bit of what they're trying to get you to do. Otherwise, you won't be convincing. See, so the people who call themselves Indians in the Northwestern Hemisphere, they have experienced that. The alcohol thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are called Indians have been devastated by a thing called whiskey. Okay? Rum in the old days. So the conquerors, the white supremacists would say, here, Chief, you talking about water. You're talking about water. You got songs about water. You got water dances and whatnot. Hey, we got some water for you that you never heard of before. It's called what? Fire water. It's got fire in it. Drink a little of it. And that's what they call whiskey or rum. So the chief would take a little drink. And then the chief would notice, say, well, do you drink this? I mean, this tastes odd. This is not This is not the water I'm used to and whatnot. Say, just keep drinking it, Chief. Look, I'm going to take a swig. And he sat there and he takes a swig. You know, here it is, Thanksgiving Day, take a swig. We are Thanksgiving. This is what this is, part of our religious order. You got religious order, Chief. Take another little swig here. Next thing you know, the chief is dead drunk up under the table, and he has signed away his whole tribe while he was drunk. But the white supremacists, they were drinking too, but they ain't drunk. They're doing the same thing with sexuality. They're slowly pulling all the black people, including, you know, and it don't take much, the religious leaders and everybody, into that web, slowly doing it. And I've been saying slowly doing it. Now that you look at what's really going on, they're not slowly doing it. They're going at a gallop worldwide with this sexual sabotage, I call it.
Mm-hmm,
It's all kind of labels you can give to it. But what they're doing, they're distorting it so that they can ruin all the chances of black males and black females being successful in a relationship in the future. Talking about going for the next 100 or thousands of years. That's what this plan is.
Yes, sir.
It's like Hitler's 1,000-year Reich that he talked about.
Okay. Let's go to the Gmails. Daryl, I will say this. On the first part of your question that is being addressed, I don't know why that happened. This is specific to Daryl. He knows what he asked. Hopefully it'll be better this week. But your second question, he says, Mr. Fuller, what do you think when you hear the term, quote, strong black woman, end of quote? I'm a strong black woman. We first started hearing this term several years ago, and now it's making a return in conversations and in popular culture. Could you please address this? Thank you. D.
Depends on who's doing it. Like, according to the code, you always go by who's doing the talking. Now, whomever uses the term should explain the term. Term should have definitions, which is very important to always ask about what is the definition of a strong black woman and who's doing the talking about what the definition is, because different people will have different definitions. The white supremacists believed in strong black females, all right? They definitely believed in them. The ones that they put on that slave ship, hey, they would examine them, you know, look at their breasts and all like that. Oh, this is a real breeder. Oh, she's strong. And, hey, she's got big muscles and whatnot. She must have been doing a whole lot of farm work, or lifting heavy rocks here in the tribe and all like that. Get her on that boat. She can lift some rocks for us, all right? And she can breed some more slaves, because we're going to lose dozens of them on the way over, because some of them are going to be weak, all right? Males and females. We'll have to throw their dead bodies overboard, you know, feed them to the sharks, and try to catch the sharks so that we can eat the sharks, because we're going to need a lot of shark meat to feed these slaves with. We're going to have to catch a lot of fish, because we ain't going to have to take a lot of first-class rations. This ain't no pleasure cruise, okay? And we'll be out there for months. So we want strong, using that word strong like I've just been given. You want strong black people. We don't want any weak ones. Take those weak ones and throw them overboard. We shouldn't have brought them here in the first place. They're weak. You know, they got some kind of disease or something like that. We don't need that. We're going to be spreading enough disease ourselves like we always do. So we want strong for whose benefit? For the white supremacists. That's who.
Yes. Okay, let's see here. Going by here. We already did the white-splaining. Let's do this. There's so many of them here. Let's see. Which one is going to come up here? Let's see here. see what Mark has to say. Okay. Okay. Here's one, Mr. Fuller. It says, I have a few questions. This is directly directed to you, Mr. Fuller. He says, 1, 2, 3, 4 questions. How old is Mr. Fuller? That's his first question.
89.
Okay. Wow, I didn't even know that one. Okay, good. Okay, did you get that, Mark? He said he's 89. Okay, the second question. Mr. Fuller, do you think the way things are going now, there is hope for black people?
Oh, yes. I got a little note on my desk here that I keep. That's one of the first things I see next to the clock on my desk, and that is the word hope. That word was used in the movie Shawshank Redemption, too, by Andy Dufresne, if people remember, when he was talking about taking the music down with him or having the music in his head while he was in solitary confinement. He says because it gave him hope. He would play opera in his head, and he was telling Red and other prisoners at lunch about hope. And some years ago, a preacher, Reverend Jesse Jackson, I believe, if I'm quoting him correctly, he had a slogan called what?
Keep hope alive.
Keep hope alive. See what I mean? Hope. You know, and a lot of black people have actually talked to me directly and said, Mr. Fuller, I mean, you described this thing about white supremacy. I mean, how can we, it seems hopeless using that word, hopeless. And the code says, hey, regardless of how you feel emotionally, even if your emotions tell you this situation is hopeless, it's absolutely off the rails. There's nothing can be done. The rails are not even there. All right? Everything is gone. It's all down the drain. I mean, we're just going to be perpetual losers forever, generation after generation, for millions of years. It's all in place. But the code says, when it looks that way, when it seems that way, and this question that just came up is real important. The more it seems that way, you as an individual person, because the code is direct to individual persons, was I directed to myself first, the more it looks hopeless, the more and more and more it looks hopeless, the more it looks like nobody just seems to care, and getting to the place where people are caring less and less and less and less and less. That means one thing. The more hopeless it appears to be, you double down, triple down, quadruple down, and say, hey, I'm going to keep going. And the more hopeless it appears to be, the more I'm determined to keep going. That is the code. That is rock solid code.
Okay.
I mean, when you look around at all this chaos, when it looks like black people have just completely lost their minds, and that the white supremacists are engendering all kinds of total nonsense and chaos and killing and feeding everything that's non-constructive and dumping it on non-white people, and it seems absolutely hopeless forever and ever and ever and ever. The code says you take one look at that, just a glance, and say, yeah, that's my signal. That's the signal for me to really get in the mix. I mean, and all this hopeless nonsense is going on, and I am just going to roll up my sleeves and do my little 2 cents. 2 cents there, 1 cent there, a half a cent there. I'm going to keep on doing it.
Okay.
And people will look and say, hey, it's hopeless. Ain't no point in you. Yeah. And I'm going to keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping
Keep on keeping on. Why? Because history has proven that when you got one person sometimes who would just hold on when everybody else is thrown in the towel, that one person sometimes makes a breakthrough that nobody else could make.
All righty. And lastly, before we go to the break, it says this. Mr. Fuller, can we find the solutions of racism without white people? Because they do have the power.
That's possible, but in order for it to really work, and white people are going to be here on the planet, and presumably they are, because for some reason they do exist, and we'll find out what they exist for. We'll find out what everything exists for. Some species have become extinct, and other species have morphed into other species. But whatever the Creator had in mind, we don't really know, except the Creator does give us something called logic. So it's logical that you just try to work with what you have here, because nothing is the way it ought to be. There are no people on this planet who are anywhere close to the way that people ought to be. According to what criteria? The criteria of perfection. There are no perfect people. It's all degrees of disaster. That's what you're looking at. Everything is disastrous compared to what it ought to be.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just keep that door open and see where it goes, and say, and using logic, we'll be led to do what needs to be done as time goes on. I mean, some people, like all of us, will have to restrict ourselves and whatnot, and be taught not to do certain things and to do certain things, because we're all going to have to wind up on the same page if we are here.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay.
So it doesn't make any difference what color we are, how tall we are, or anything, or what our history is, what we used to do. I mean, we need to be doing what should have been done in the first place, and that is taking full constructive advantage of this wonderful planet that we have all been issued to, and the gift that it is, because it is a gift.
I want to ask you a question after we do this here, Mr. Fuller. TalkTimeAtRadio.com is a 24/7, no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news, lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here's three that I'm going to share with you. The Wellness Spot with Tanya Karen. Everlasting Life with Michelle Vernal. And It's Your Time to Travel with Ricky Tyus. Now, again, these shows, all of them, are exclusive to TalkTimeAtRadio.com. And, I don't know, you put that hand out there, man. Don't mess with they are exclusive to TalkTimeAtRadio.com. And all you have to do is go to the TalkTimeAtRadio.com homepage and just click on programs, and there they are. Just give them a sample. All that from TalkTimeAtRadio.com. That is radio the way it should be heard. Before I go to this next question, Mr. Fuller, listening to you describe and have been describing racism, white supremacy for for many years, even before I came on the scene, I'm going to ask this question. Racism, white supremacy, Mr. Fuller, and I'm asking this in the form of a question, is not necessarily about color, but about abuse and domination of people. Would that be a correct assessment? Mr. Fuller?
Well, it could be if a person wants to look at it like that.
I'm asking because I know that the racist white supremacists use color, but I'm hearing on every area that you described a domination and abuse of people, particularly people of color. But it seems like to me that people of color and others are also abused and dominated by this system. And that's why I'm asking, is that true, before I go on to this other question here?
Well, it could be true.
Okay.
But I just say that the people who have chosen to be white supremacists or dictating to the people of color what they should and will actually be doing and not doing, and how they will think and how they will conduct themselves on the planet Earth. And it's a gangster operation.
Yes.
The system of white supremacy.
That is true.
So, that's why I call it white supremacy and or racism. It's a gangster concept. It's a gangster operation. So the color factor is the dominant factor. But mistreatment of people, you could have that without having the color factor there. But we do have the color factor there.
Okay.
So we can pretend that, or a person wants to look at it that way and just say, well, I'm going to erase the color factor and just look at it from the standpoint of no one should be mistreated. Well, they got that correct too.
Okay.
See, that's why I always tell people, many times when you talk about racism and white supremacy, people don't want to hear it.
Yes.
Most of the time, that's true.
Most of the time,
okay?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I tell people repeatedly, the code calls for this. When people don't want to talk about racism, don't talk about racism, but do talk about mistreatment of people.
Exactly.
Okay? And so when you talk about mistreatment of people, you're going to be talking about racism anyway, all right, without even mentioning it.
Mm-hmm.
Because justice is about what? Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated, and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help.
Okay.
All of the time, everywhere on the planet.
Okay.
No exceptions to that rule.
Okay.
And if you get on that wavelength, even without mentioning ever anything about white and non-white, you are destroying the system of white supremacy when you are talking about producing a system of justice.
Okay.
That is absolute destruction of the system of white supremacy, because the system of white supremacy is designed to maintain non-justice.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to have you start in this, and then we have to go to break, but let's do this. In the Gmail here, in the people area, activity area of sex, Mr. Fuller, why is it so important not to try to get people to like you and or love you? In the people area of sexual activity on page 328, sir, you posted a question. And okay, we're going to have to get to the question after we do the commercial break, and I will ask that question. TalkTameRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTameRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. Podcasts are available. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. We're going to ask this question that this person asked and have more of Mr. Fuller's comments. That and more coming up next on TalkTameRadio.com.
TalkTameRadio.com is proud to present the compensatory concept. It is an effective system for countering the effects of white supremacy. TalkTameRadio.com is able to carry the first hour. However, the cost for the second hour is exceeding our limited budget. That is why we ask for your kind assistance in keeping the second hour on the air. If you believe like we do, help us in this struggle for justice. Go to the gold donate button on the TalkTameRadio.com web page and hit the gold donate button. That's the gold donate button. And please donate. Help us to keep the second hour of the compensatory concept on the air. Thank you.
Are you ready for a high school that allows you to work at a place that is right for you? Are you ready to earn a certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving your high school diploma? Then you are ready for Life Skills High School, a free public school option for high school students 16 to 21 years old. Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 1-800-888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Kickin online.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Kickin products are better than those other guys. Ash Kickin candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK17. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling all right.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Shop Ash Kickin online at www.ashkickin.com.
Stand by for an important announcement for rivers and investors. You have probably heard about this bad economy and high foreclosure rate. I'm here to bring you hope. Every foreclosed property is a blessing or a deal for a new buyer or investor. These properties are selling every day all over Central Ohio for several reasons. They are equity rich, worth tens of thousands of dollars above their price. There is down payment money available and remodeling funds if needed. Don't let the doom and gloom news keep you from your dream of home ownership. Call Linco Realty today at 865-9614. That's 865-9614. Call now. Always remember, these times, like all times, are good times if we but know what to do with them. They also have programs for investors who want to get off the couch and run with the big dogs. Call Linco today at 865-9614 or log on to repohomeslist.com.
This is Al Edmondson, owner of a Cutter Brother Rest Barbershop. I'm calling on all barbers and beauticians. It's time for us to unite as one. We can serve our communities better together. Join the Ohio Black Barber Beauty Network. For more information, visit www.obbn.org or call 614-427-3226 to get more information. Be the change that you want to see in your community. Join our network.
Looking for something special for your club or group? Take a trip. Cruise planners will help you plan the event of a lifetime. Explore exotic places from Africa to Asia, Bermuda to Las Vegas to Hawaii, with special offers that make it affordable and exciting. Click on to www.greatgetawaytrips.com for great deals, or call today at 614-707-SHIP. That's 614-707-7447.
Sex Code War by Kahari Inaharo, the author of the Essence Magazine bestseller Race Code War, is releasing his second book, Sex Code War. Be on the lookout for Sex Code War.
If you or someone you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and Medicaid is always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
Here's an idea. You've heard of the notion of pay it forward? It comes from the 2000 movie Pay It Forward. Basically, the premise is helping someone with no expectations of payback, providing assistance to someone, passing information on, simply doing a good deed for a total stranger, and instead of allowing them to pay it back, ask them to pay it forward. Doing favors for other people and asking them to do the same. The principle is the same as multi-level marketing, except that instead of soap or vitamins, it's generosity between strangers that is being passed on. Pay It Forward is mentoring, it's volunteering in your community, it's shoveling a neighbor's snow, or cutting an elderly person's grass for them, or taking a senior to the store. Don't wait for someone else to do something good. Do it yourself. It starts with you. Talktainment Radio strongly embraces the notion of pay it forward. In fact, we just did.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTimidRadio.com.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You got the power.
Alrighty, TalkTimidRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTimidRadio.com app to your cellular, to your tablets. That's radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby, and I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Our topic has been today the extinction of white people, sent in by one of our Gmailers. And Mr. Fuller has been discussing that along with your other Gmails that come through. Before we go back to the question, Jason Blount, I don't know if I'm going to get to your question today, but I'll tell you what, depending upon how the answers that Mr. Fuller gives to the questions that are coming up, we will make every effort to get to those. Okay, the Gmail is, let me start all over again. It says, why is it so important not to try to get people to like you and or love you? In the people activity area of sex on page 328, sir being Mr. Fuller, you pose a question, and the question is, what is the correct thing for you to do or say in order to get people to, quote, love you or like you? The answer was never think about getting any person to love or to like you. On page 328, Mr. Fuller, you list reasons why. Can you explain that, please?
Page 328.
Yes, the revised expanded edition.
All
yes,
right,
sir.
so let's see. I have it here
Okay.
before me. I have the book before me. Let me see.
Okay. All right.
Page 328.
Mm-hmm.
I have it here. Now, says where? Now, where did I have that?
He says the question you have on there is, what is the correct thing for you to do?
Oh, yes, I have it in the middle of the page.
Okay.
It says the answer, never think about getting any person to love you or to like you. Instead, spend your time and energy, number one, producing, building, repairing, improving, and or cleaning those things that have constructive value and using those things for constructive purposes only. In other words, don't think about whether you ought to be getting somebody to love you or like you. Just do something constructive. Produce, build, repair, improve. You become attractive doing things like that. If you are a producer, you're a person that's building something, repairing something. I mean, single ladies know something about a little about that. They know a little about it. That even if they don't particularly like the person or love the person, they're kind of attracted. I'll give an example. Like I started to do, a black lady who is alone, and she has a big house that was left to her by someone, and she's working around that house. I mean, she's trying to do this, she's trying to do the plumbing. She doesn't know what to do. The electrical system doesn't work, and here comes a fella, kind of nondescript. He isn't particularly attractive to look at and all like that, but there's something about him. He's what a lot of people call a handyman. Okay? He has hands. See, that's where that word comes from. That's where the word handsome, that's what it really meant, I think. I'm not sure. He got some hands. He can do something. And he gets in there, and she doesn't pay much attention to him and all like that. But the next thing you know, he knows how to do things. He knows how to produce things. He knows how to repair things. He knows how to invent things. He'll say that, oh, this lighting system you have in here is poor. I think, I'm going to do some things with it. I'm going to the hardware store, and I'm going to get some things. I think I can do a whole lot to make your lighting in the kitchen here and in the bedroom a whole lot better than it is. Yeah, the lighting here is just awful, And he does that. He comes back with some stuff that he put together and all like that, and he says, I'll look at this. Let me check this over here, check this over there, whatnot. Next thing you know, he's done the plumbing. He's been all down in the basement and whatnot. He's got that all spruced up. Now, you weren't looking to love him or anything like that. You just want this work done. But little by little, he's becoming attractive. I mean, all of he's handsome. Why? He's got some hands. He can do things. And he can do things with it. His mind tells his hands what to do. And so, because you can have some hands with no mind. I mean, so your hands is all over the place doing something where they shouldn't be doing what's not constructive. All right? But if your hands is repairing and producing and whatnot, this becomes attractive. That attracts attention. Okay? That's just one example I would like to say of number one. Number two, not trying to get people to love you or to like you, but you spend your time studying, writing, asking questions, and or exchanging views with others about all aspects of how to eliminate racism and or how to produce justice. Now, eliminating racism, that's constructive activity. So any person who is engaging in a constructive activity, like I just gave the example of number one, someone who knows how to do things with their hands and their brain and whatnot, practical things, fix the plumbing, fix the electrical wiring and whatnot. Now, that person becomes attractive. So if you're trying to produce a thing called justice, you might attract somebody's attention who has experienced a whole lot of non-justice. You just might, without even trying to. All right? That's why you just walking around saying, look at me and love me because I'm here. A lot of black people do that. That doesn't even make sense. Just love you because you exist. I might find you useful because you exist. I might find you somebody to be given regard to, somebody not to harm. But what you call that, that feeling you get, that special feeling, where you're attracted to one individual, all right? It should be based on something other than, look at me, here I am, turning flips in the middle of the sidewalk. I mean, and so you're not doing anything constructive, okay?
Okay.
So now, eating and sleeping correctly and only as necessary.
That's number 3.
Right, that's number 3. And number 4.
Okay, watch out now.
Engaging in sexual intercourse, but no more than 2 times every 7 days. And using a minimum amount of time and resources in association with such engagements. Now, you got a lot of Jim Danders, always have had. That's what they call them. Black males, particularly in the northwestern hemisphere. I mean, all spruced up and whatnot. He's the lion in the den, and he's got this stable of lionesses, if you want to call them that, and whatnot. And he's just going from female to female to female to female, non-stop marathon sex and whatnot. That can be attractive. That can be mistaken for love, all right? But after the sex wears off, the sexual act itself and whatnot, and he's lying there, okay, now here's what. The rent is due. And like I heard a black lady say some years ago, never have an eviction notice on your dresser and a man in your bed at the same time. Ever. So I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Okay.
Never have a man in your bed and an eviction notice on your dresser at the same time. Now, I understood immediately what the logic is in that statement that lady made some years ago. I heard a black lady say that, because she says either that eviction notice should be off of that dresser, or that man shouldn't be in your bed, because if that's a real man, or one who's trying to be a man, he should be somewhere out getting rid of that eviction notice, rather than laying up in your bed talking about, how did you like what I just gave you? Meaning some sex act, all right? But you got an eviction notice where neither one of you is going to be in a bed next week.
All righty. TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., but it is at this particular time that we have Mr. Fuller talk about his book. So, Mr. Fuller, take it away.
You can get the book by going to producejustice.com. That's like you're producing something, like I just said, the use of time and energy. That's also listed in economics, as well as sex, and that is producing something. Produce something. That's sexy, all right? And so you want to, overall, if you're a victim of racism, be producing what? Producing something that's better than racism. Now, what would be better than racism? Well, you look at racism and see what it's for. Well, it's for dominating and mistreating people based on color. That's what it's for. And what do you get out of it? 3 things: fun, glory, and material comfort. Those are the 3 things. Everybody wants fun. Everybody wants glory. Everybody wants material comfort. Well, somebody thought of a thing called racism in the form of white supremacy a long time ago in order to get those 3 things in that gangster operation called the system of white supremacy. They dreamed it up. And it's been the most successful government or religion or political system ever invented in the minds of people. Nothing has been greater than it. There's no religion greater than the system of white supremacy. There's no political system greater than the system of white supremacy. There's no quote-unquote non-economic system greater than the system of white supremacy. So what would be better than the system of white supremacy? Because which is the most powerful system of government ever thought up? A system of justice, which means guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. But you have to produce it, because it doesn't exist anywhere. You can't have white supremacy and justice on the same planet at the same time. It doesn't compute. So I have tried to come up with a book that at least expresses a concept that I think is the missing link in dealing with racism, and that is a united independent concept based on a code where people do not have loyalty, because you're not going to get that, to each other, the victims of white supremacy. That's not going to work, because in the system of white supremacy, the white supremacy won't let it work. But you can have loyalty to a code, an individual code, and that theoretically, if everyone adopts the same code who is in the prison yard of white supremacy, then everyone will be on the same page, even if they are not even talking to each other about the subject of white supremacy. But they are doing constructive things as best they can. And those constructive things will be automatically, as an individual, you're doing something constructive, and it's automatically eroding the system of white supremacy, even though you may not be immediately aware of it. But if everybody's following that same code, and the code is designed to erode the system of white supremacy, the system of white supremacy will automatically vanish. It will just vanish, almost like a miracle, because everyone who is a victim of it has a code. Each individual, things that you do, things that you don't do, things that you say, things that you don't say. And that's what the textbook for victims of white supremacy is supposed to be about.
Okay.
It's addressed to the individual. Go to producejustice.com. Producejustice.com.
Okay. All righty, back to the Gmails. It says, true or false, Mr. Fuller? This comes from Jason. He says, the most important area of activity that non-white people should concentrate on is war. He's asking that as a true or false question.
And the question is what now?
The most important area of activity that non-white people should concentrate on is war.
Well, yes, but what does war consist of? Many military scholars have said war consists of everything. So that would include all 9 areas of activity. And counter war. If you are against a war that is going on and you want to put a stop to it, which the system of white supremacy is war, and if you're going to counter the system of white supremacy, you would call that, according to the code, counter war. So you do it in all 9 areas of activity. So war would cover all of it. Just like economics, the first area of activity. War is listed as the 9th area. Economics is the first area.
Mm-hmm.
But all of these areas, these are just labels that mean the same thing. They're all a part of the war. Sex is a part of the war. Religion is a part of the war. Economics is a part of the war, because economics is just means what? The use of time and energy, according to the code. That's the definition of economics. How you use your time, how you use your energy. If you use it non-constructively, that's non-economical. That's anti-economics. Economics is constructive use of time and energy. So if you're doing that, trying to replace the system of racism with the system of justice, that's economics. And that is also war. Education is a part of war. You have to be educated to conduct war. Educated in what? In how to conduct a war. And that's going to take a whole lot. In a war, you have to know about logistics.
Military strategies.
Yeah, military strategy. You have to know about food to eat.
Yes.
You know, there's an old cliche saying, an army travels on its stomach. So if you're not eating correctly, and you're not sleeping correctly, that's under economics. But it's also war. See what I mean?
Yes,
if you eat correctly, and you sleep correctly, and only as necessary, you're conducting war against the races right there. See, don't get thrown by the label. All of these labels, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, they all mean the same thing. There's just ways of people doing stuff, you might say. You're always doing something.
Okay.
Even if you're sleeping, you're doing something.
You're doing something. Okay.
And that comes under economics, that comes under war, that comes under politics. You're in politics when you're sleeping. Why? Because you are a person. And you're affecting somebody by your sleeping. Say if you're in a hotel room, you're affecting the people who have hotel rooms. Why? You're supporting their hotel, that's why. That's politics.
Okay. Let's get this last question in here and answer. Juneteenth nonsense. This is from Jabari. He says this, can Mr. Fuller tell everyone how stupid it is for us to celebrate Juneteenth when we are still prisoners of war?
Yes, it's not logical. See, it's not a put down, to tell people that that's stupidity. But it's not logical. Stupidity means not logical. That's all stupidity is. It's not logical. It doesn't serve a constructive purpose. So when black people celebrate, and we believe in celebrating just about everything, we had just recently had what in the Northwestern Hemisphere? Had something, what's that latest, the latest so-called holiday or holy day? Father's Day, is that correct?
Oh, yeah, Father's Day, yes.
Yes. Well, we're not qualified to be fathers. So what are we celebrating? Prisoners of war are not fathers or mothers. That's been taken away from you when you became a prisoner of war. So you're not anybody's parent. You can reproduce like prisoners can do. Prisoners can have babies, but those babies become prisoners of war. If you are a prisoner, your babies are prisoners of war. And prisoners of war cannot be parents. Why? The prison masters are the parents. That's why. That's just the logic, folks. There's no way around that. So this is all pretense. A black person strutting around talking about, I'm the head of the household. Well, who's the head of you? Since you're holding this house, all right? And what do you mean by holding it? How are you holding it? You owe somebody on that house. You say, oh, no, this house is paid for. Not really. You're a prisoner of war. You don't even have a house. How can a prisoner of war have anything? You're a prisoner. That's why I keep saying, if you're black and you're on the planet, you are a prisoner. You were born in prison. And just because you don't know it, doesn't say it's not true. And just because Neely Fuller said it, doesn't say that it is true.
Okay.
But stop and think about it, folks.
Stop and think about it. Okay,
Who
how about...
do you answer to?
Okay.
Just yourself?
And this one, it says one quick question from Anthony. How do we as black people teach that we should walk away from violence when we're all taught to be so violent from birth?
Oh, you always try to get away from violence, but violence will catch up with you. So you repel the violence any way that you can. That's direct violence. Just like on a street. You're walking down the street. If somebody jumps out of a car and starts swinging an axe. Okay, the first thing you do, you don't have an axe. So you try to get away from the aggression. Okay? But when you finally run down an alley or somewhere and there's a big fence there and you can't get over the fence, and somebody happened to have left some type of sharp object or something in the trash can or something, you grab it. That's what you do, and repel the aggression the best way you can. But the main thing you do is try to get away from the aggression. Now, in a prison camp, though, which is where we all are, and somebody is authorized to chase after you or to tell you to report somewhere, somebody with a badge and a gun, you got the 3 F's there that you don't do. You don't fuss, you don't fight, and you don't flee. I turn on television every 2 or 3 days and I see somebody doing just that. Fussing, fighting, fleeing. You don't argue with a person who has a badge and a gun in the system of white supremacy. No. You don't fuss. You don't start talking about what your rights are and what you are not going to do.
Wow.
Why? Because it's not going to work. That's why.
Okay.
Everybody who tries this has found that out. But see, it's stupidity to keep doing things that you know are not going to work.
And we have to cut it right there. I'm sorry, Mr. Fuller.
Yes.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for Mr. Fuller. Talk to him at radio.com, the world's greatest radio, and radio the way it should be heard. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why. One should always ask it.
Radio, the way it should be heard.
You got the power, the world's greatest radio. TalkTainmentRadio.com.